Welcome to Sewing with Tay. Today we are making a circle skirt and we're going to jump right in. These are your tools. We'll go through each of these once the video starts. You will also need your waist measurement and we're going to divide the number by 6. So if you want to prep that, here we go. Paper, tape measure. You're going to need a marker, something to write with, some rulers. I didn't use the yardstick because my dress was short. A regular ruler, like an 18-inch ruler, is cool. A French curve is a nice to have, not necessary. And then we're going to use these pins over here to the side. So to start off, we are going to draw two straight lines to make a 90-degree angle. We want these lines to be pretty long because this is going to also end up being the length of your skirt. So my skirt ended up only being 20 inches, so I needed about a 28-inch line. And as you see me go through, I ended up not having enough length because these rulers are only 18 inches. So once you get your line marked, we're going to start with the radius. So we talked about your waist measurement. You're going to take your waist measurement and you are going to divide it by 6. There is also a really efficient circle skirt calculator that you can get off of mood.com. I'll link that in the description. Your first step is to take your radius, whatever that number is, and you're going to measure it from your 90-degree angle down each of the lines. And then you're going to rotate your tape in between the lines, marking whatever your number is. My number is 7. So each of these little tick marks measure 7 inches. And you're going to do that all the way around until you get enough marks to make a line. So now it's time to do our skirt length. Our skirt length will start at those tick marks we made. I'm going to add 1 inch to the skirt length. So I wanted a 20-inch skirt, and then I'm going to measure 21. I'm going to start by measuring at the tick mark along those lines that I drew originally, 21. And that's why I said my lines needed to be roughly 28 so that I had enough room for the radius of my waist and my skirt length. On the end of both of these lines, you want to make sure you square them off, just like that, so that there is a 90-degree angle for about a half an inch. You want to do that on both sides. That way your skirt shape is smooth. If you don't do this and there's like a weird angle there, you'll get these like points or pickups in your hem and it won't look as cute. So make sure you square off those two lines. From there, you're going to take your measuring tape and you're going to measure 21 inches from each of the tick marks you made originally to make a full circle. You will see me kind of rotating my tape. You want to make sure it's straight. You want to make sure that you're staying on the line you drew originally and then do that all the way around. Now I'm going to take my French curve. I'm going to try to pick a little spot on the curve ruler that kind of matches the shape of my curve. Here I'm going back and making sure I square off those ends because you do not want any points on your skirt, any weird shape points. So I am adding in the squared off corner. I'm taking this French curve and I'm just tracing those lines that I made, trying to make sure that curve shape is smooth and it's not looking lopsided or anything crazy like that. You don't necessarily need to use a ruler for this. If you make your lines close enough, you can just kind of connect them. But for purposes of showing you this video and showing you the correct way to do this is what you can do. And you want to try to use the same curved area of the ruler to keep your curve shape consistent. And you're going to do that all the way to the other line. One of the most important things with pattern making is making sure you label your patterns correctly. So I am making a note there for the waist. This little double arrow situation is to indicate where a fold is. This skirt is cut on a double fold. So it's fold on both sides. So this will give you a circle skirt with no seams. You can also you have a circle skirt with seams, but then you could use like a 3/4 circle skirt or a half circle skirt or a quarter. You can see those very easily. They have different radiuses. You can find those on Mood. So, just an FYI. So, here's a circle skirt. It is a full circle skirt. I'm going to label it and I'm going to cut one on the fold. And that's really important that you label that just in case you come back to this weeks later and you can't remember what you did. I made a note that I added an inch already for the seam allowance and my pattern is done. All I have left to do is to cut this out and then I can start on the pattern for my waistband. The waistband pattern is really easy. We're going to make a rectangle. So this is going to be a fold over waistband. So I'm going to do like 5 inches. So I need to start by making a straight line and I'm using the dots on my paper to make sure my line is straight. I'm going to measure that 5 inches, make sure that it is 5 inches. And then I am going to start drawing a rectangle for your waistband. The fabric that I used was very stretchy, and I found that I should have undercut it more than what I did originally, so I had to go back and edit it. So, what I'm going to say, if you have very stretchy fabric, I would take half of your waist. So, if your waist is 20, then you're going to make it 10. Then I'm going to say take off 2 inches, make it 18, then add 1 inch for seam allowance or a half an inch if you're going to be using a serger. So make it 18 and a half. So you're going to cut this on the fold. You want to make sure you have enough length on your paper here. So I originally cut this at 23 because half of my waist was 22 and I did an inch. But I felt like I wanted it to be a little bit tighter on my waist. And because this does not have elastic, you have to think about how stretchy your knit fabric is. If it's very, very stretchy, circle skirts can get heavy. So you might want to just take off a little bit so it stretches and is a little bit more secure to your body. But you're going to cut one edge on the fold and then the other half will have a seam allowance. So a serger is usually 3/8 of an inch, or if you're going to be using a zigzag stitch, you can do a half, which is an inch, or 3/4. So whatever seam you decide to use, that's how much you need to add. Your waist divided by 2, and then take away at least 2 for stretch, and then add seam allowance. I'm gonna make a graphic and put this before here so that you guys don't miss that. Okay, wrapping up the skirt pattern, we want to true this. It's called truing your pattern. We're going to put both of those fold straight lines together and we're going to line them up. And then we are going to kind of crease your pattern on the fold in the center. We are doing this to make sure that, our curved edge is symmetrical on both sides. You don't want one side of your skirt dipping. And actually, I did a pretty good job. You can see a little bit here. We're just going to trim that off because we being technical today. But yeah, you want to flip it over and make sure both sides are even. So those are your patterns. And you can make this at any length. Hit the subscribe button so you will see when I post a video of me actually sewing the circle skirt.